I'm Abby Andrew, and welcome back to the René of Paris channel. I'm the alopecia ambassador for this channel, meaning I talk about wigs from the perspective of someone that's been wearing wigs daily since about the age of 7 years old. I've had alopecia since about the age of 2. So a lot of these tips that I like to share on this channel are things that I've just picked up from my own experience wearing wigs on a regular basis. In today's video, I wanted to go over some basic care tips for curly synthetic wigs. Now, caring for a curly synthetic wig and caring for a curly human hair wig will be a little bit different, because with synthetic wigs, one of the best parts with synthetic wigs is that they will actually hold their style without much maintenance. So personally, as someone who likes the low maintenance hair route, I really like this option. If you have a synthetic curly wig, it will hold its curl and you won't really need to do much maintenance to have it keep its curl. But there are some tips and tricks to really help keep that curl looking nice and fresh even as you wear the wig over time. Now with synthetic wigs, you have regular synthetic wigs and you also have heat-friendly synthetic wigs. With heat-friendly synthetic wigs, you will be able to use hot tools on them to modify the curl, whether you want to change the curl pattern, just kind of give it a little bit more shape, or even straighten the wig entirely, depending on your preference. But of course, with heat-friendly synthetic wigs, you want to be really careful not to damage the fiber. There is a heat limit, so always check the tag to see what that heat limit is, and use the lowest heat that you can to still get the effect that you're looking for. I would also recommend testing the heating tool on a small piece on the back, just to make sure nothing's going to go wrong before you go right into the front and mess up the wig. You always want to just be super cautious to not damage the wig, even with heat-friendly synthetic wigs. First, I just want to go over a couple of tools that are really great to have in your collection to maintain your synthetic curly wigs. Of course, with any synthetic wig, you're going to want to have proper synthetic wig combs and brushes. René of Paris has a really great collection of different combs and brushes. What I personally love to use for curly styles are some of the wide tooth combs that we have. So this is an example of one of the bamboo wide tooth combs. There's also a fantastic plastic wide tooth comb that I just find to be such a lifesaver and game changer with curly synthetic wigs. With curly wigs, you want to typically avoid going straight in and brushing them because that can kind of cause the curl to frizz out a little bit. I like to use wide tooth combs, and what I would do is I still wouldn't go straight in and just comb straight through. I would recommend kind of taking one curl at a time and very gently detangling it. And if you want to be extra careful and you feel like the wig isn't too tangled, you can really just go ahead and use your fingers to get out the small tangles. And that way you're not risking brushing out the curl or causing it to frizz. René of Paris also has a couple of synthetic wig products that are really great for keeping your wig looking nice and new, and two of these that I have here are really great specifically for curly wigs especially. They're great for all synthetic wigs, but they are such a game changer for curly synthetic wigs. So here I have the Revive Liquid Enhancement. I'll give you a demo on how to use this on your curly wigs in just a moment. We also have this Protect Holding Spray, which basically is just a hairspray for your synthetic wigs. Now that's really great if you just freshly finished styling your synthetic wig and you just want to make sure it's going to hold that curl a bit longer. Like I was saying before, synthetic wigs are already naturally going to hold their style, but this will just kind of keep it nice and perfect as you go throughout the day. Now the Revive Liquid Enhancement is a really great cure-all for synthetic wigs, basically. It's just a really great all-around product for keeping your wigs looking nice and fresh. It can help to eliminate static and also just maintain a nice volume, nice shine, and also just to help keep your style looking nice and new. With curly styles especially, it also helps to minimize frizz. So once you've been wearing the style for a little bit and it inevitably gets a little bit of that frizz that any curly hair would get, whether it's your own hair or whether it's a wig, this will really help to just minimize that frizz and return it back to its beautiful new style. There are a few ways that you can use the Revive Liquid Enhancement to maintain your curly wig styles. With a style like this one here, this is Zara in Melted Marshmallow from the Alexander Couture Collection, just a really gorgeous curly style on the shorter side. Now this wig is relatively new, so it's still got that beautiful new wig look to it, but if you ever want to just kind of fluff up the curls just a tiny bit, but you don't really need to do too much to it, all you have to do is just spray the tiniest bit of this in your hair and just kind of scrunch them up a tiny bit just with your hands, and you can really just kind of give those curls just a little bit of extra volume. So this is a really good method for if your wig still looks perfect, but you just want to kind of add just a little touch up. So you want to take your spray, hold it about a foot, 12 inches or so away from your hair, just give it a nice spritz, maybe like one on each side. For this particular technique, you do not need much at all. So just a little spritz, and then just take your hands, just kind of push the curls upwards. As you can see, it just gives a little bit of new life to the curl and just makes it look a little bit more like it was just freshly curled. Just be very gentle, but just slightly scrunch it up with your hands. So the effect is subtle, but as you can see, it just kind of adds a little bit more volume and bend to these curls. And you can even kind of just take your finger and follow the natural pattern that the curl already follows and just kind of push it into that shape again so it gets a little bit tighter. This next wig here is Rylee from the René of Paris collection in the color Pastel Pink. This is a longer synthetic curly style, and these curls are absolutely gorgeous. Now, Zara and this wig are both regular synthetic wigs and they're not heat friendly, so you definitely do not want to use heating tools to maintain these curls, but you also don't need to. Like I was saying in the beginning of this video, curly styles will hold their curls, which is a really great part about synthetic wigs because you don't have to worry about going in with tools and curling this constantly. It will hold the curl, and it will even hold the curl after you wash it, which is really, really great. But if the curls start to get a little bit frizzy or they start to separate a bit, you can go back and use that Protect Holding Spray with both your shorter curly wigs and your longer curly wigs. Again, for the most part, this wig is in pretty good shape, but as you can see here, the curls at the bottom are starting to get a little bit separated. So what you can do is just take an individual curl and kind of separate them a bit, and just kind of work with one curl at a time. With this section here. I'm going to take my wide tooth comb and just very gently start from the ends and just detangle it just a tiny bit. Now I'm going to go ahead and just spritz from about a foot away. Very light. And then you can just kind of curl just the end with your finger. Because as you can see, the curls for the most part still are in really good shape in this part, but sometimes you just want to take the end and just give it a little bit of fine tuning just at the tips. So like that. And now it just has a much better shape to it, and the hairs are kind of gathered into that curl again rather than being a little bit more separated. So you can either choose to work with this on your head or work with it on a mannequin if that's a little bit easier for you to get the curls in the back. But again, just take one curl and just kind of shape just the end of the hair with your finger. I'm going to also do it to the bang here in the front. You can just kind of twirl it around your finger like you might if you were just playing with your hair. Because the synthetic wig is naturally styled to want to go into that curl pattern, so all you have to do is kind of guide it back into that curl that it already kind of wants to be in using your finger and the Revive Liquid Enhancement, just to kind of reactivate that curl. You can even just give the ends of the hair a very light mist and just kind of shape each individual curl with your fingers. So the difference is subtle, but it really just helps maintain the individual curls rather than having them start to clump together or separate. It really just helps give a little bit more definition and volume to your curly synthetic wigs. Now, this part certainly isn't mandatory because your synthetic wig will still hold the curls whether you use this or not, but if you want to just give it that extra security in maintaining the style, if you're going out and about for the night, you can go ahead and use the Protect Holding Spray, which is like the synthetic hairspray. Just give it a light mist over the whole wig, holding it about 10 to 12 inches away, and you don't need much, just a nice little spritz. And just like that, that will just give a little bit of an extra hold if you're worried about it holding the style as you're going out for the night. Now, this next wig that I have here is Lavish Wavez from the Muse collection. This is one of my favorite long curly styles. And a good thing about this style is that it is heat friendly, so if you wanted to just maintain the curls using a curling iron, you can go ahead and do that. And just to give the same disclaimer that I gave at the beginning, if you are going to be using heating tools on your heat friendly synthetic wigs, first thing, make sure 100% that it is heat friendly. It should be listed on your tag. And also on the tag, you can find the heat limit for your synthetic wigs. Now, heat-friendly synthetic wigs have a much lower heat limit than you might expect compared to human hair wigs because less heat is needed for it to get the style that you want. So always just be careful, use the lowest amount of heat that you can to still get the right style you're looking for. And always test it on a small piece on the back just to make sure that the heat is going to be even and not damage your wig accidentally. We also recommend using, if you're going to be using heating tools like a curling iron or a flat iron, I would definitely recommend using one where you can see the exact temperature that it's going to be at, as opposed to just a setting of low, medium, high. It's really good to know the exact temperature that you're working with. Now with this wig, as you can see here, I did a little bit of pre-styling, but I wanted to show you that also another way that you can work with the Revive Liquid Enhancement. I did not use any heating tools on this because although it is an option, it's not 100% necessary if you don't want to. You can still just use the Revive Liquid Enhancement to maintain your curls, even on a heat-friendly synthetic wig. So what I did is I took each individual curl. I'll do a demo on just one of them. Basically what you're going to do for this technique is take one curl, spray it with the Revive Liquid Enhancement just lightly. Again, you want to keep about a foot away, maybe just 1 or 2 spritzes, and then just curl that up into a tight little curl like this. Just kind of wrap it around your finger. And you can just use a basic bobby pin and just kind of pin that into place. Using hair curlers might also be a good option for this. But something simple as bobby pins, you probably already have that on hand, so it's nice and easy. Now you don't have to let it sit like that for too long, but probably just long enough for the product to dry, and maybe just wait a little bit just to make sure it's going to hold the style. But once you take all these bobby pins out, it's going to have a nice curl. Because like I was saying before, synthetic wigs that are curly already are inclined to maintain their curl. Sometimes they just need a little bit of guidance to get back into the original curl that they had in the first place. So if you just kind of use a little bit of the Revive Liquid Enhancement, just kind of remind it of the curl pattern that it was in, it kind of will naturally fall back into that shape, even without using any sort of heating tools. So here's how it looks all the way around. I didn't do it to every single curl because some of them already kind of maintain their curl, so I didn't bother doing it to the ones that already had a nice solid curl pattern. Like these ones on the front really maintained their curl very nicely. And for the most part, overall, they all maintain their curl nicely, but this is just a kind of nice way to touch it up a bit if you want to, if you've been wearing it for a while. So now just to give the final results, let's go ahead and start unpinning some of these. It gives a lot of individual definition to the curls. So if you start to get a little bit of frizz, you can just kind of do this to it and just kind of bring the curls back to how they were in the first place. So it's one individual curl rather than just kind of starting to all clump together. And again, I didn't use any sort of curling iron or heat on this. This is something you can do even without using heat. But because this particular wig is heat friendly, you can choose to do this style and then afterwards go in with the curling iron and maybe just adjust the ends. It's kind of up to preference and which method you prefer and which you find the easiest. Oh, that one came out so curly and bouncy. Look at that one. Once you have all the bobby pins out, you can just go back in. If certain curls look like they still need a little more definition, you can just kind of twist them like this and they'll kind of maintain a little bit more of a wave that way. I did choose to do this method on a mannequin head. You can do it on your own head or you can do it on a mannequin head like this one from René of Paris, which is really great for styling because it has a little bit of a heavier base so it'll stay upright as you're working with it. So just to see what this wig looks like on. And now that you have these nice defined curls, you can go back in with the Protect Holding Spray and just give it a nice couple of spritzes, just again from about a foot away. Very light mist over the whole thing. And that should help to keep those curls looking nice and fresh. So those are all the tips that I have for maintaining your curly styles on your synthetic wigs. Don't forget to leave a comment below which of these tips you found helpful, and feel free to leave any other tips that you personally have in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more wig tips and tutorials, including videos on how to style your heat-friendly synthetic wigs, and other good tips on how to keep your wig looking nice for as long as possible. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.